Hey man, say man, it's the one and only Jamaica man back with a week 7 quick break. To my understanding, the season is in full swing and we got some things that you may have not noticed, but I think at this point you following along. So let's go with that. This is what we now know as of week 7. So there was a game between brothers, the Ball brothers, Lonzo and LaMelo, and they were able to duke it out, legit duke it out against each other as if they would back in Chino Hills. But they were in the United Center. And LeVar testified to this before they even played in the NBA. And they are in a great position as a family to continue to move forward with the chess move that he's announced long before, like many others that he has. That is bold true. Contrary to the controversy that is projected towards him because of his ability to be strong. He's a great example of a father, and he's also a great example of a person that knows how to manifest. And spiritually, he's bringing forth things that only someone can like dream of, if you will. The last important piece of the Ball family is Jello Ball. He's currently on the Greensboro Swarm, and I want to give a special shout out to AB the Hero. He's doing everything Charlotte Hornet basketball, as well as I would say the unofficial, official Big Baller Brand spokesperson on YouTube. That's where this intel comes from. Most importantly, to the intel, Jello is on the G League affiliate Greensboro Swarm, but he was drafted, as you all know, this year. The significance of that, according to AB the Hero, is that he has the ability to sign anywhere he wants to sign. So specifically to the current manifestation of all of the brothers being able to play on one team at some point, it is possible for Chicago, if Jello played enough minutes, which he is not at this time, and that was a controversy. I even spoke unpopularly, shout out to my podcast, Unpopular Opinion, that Jello should take the other Martin twins' position. Although he's athletic, and I do understand the need for him to be more athletic with his ability to shoot, but his ability to shoot is needed on the Hornets right now. And although he is on the Swarm, I believe the perception that was spoken about by AB the Hero that they may not be playing him so many minutes, so he can't show himself valuable to be called up without having to lose anything for Jello. And it's rare that you have a G League player, a two-way player, however you prescribe that player from the G League, to be that valuable that you don't want him to walk away for nothing. And that is something that his father, LeVar Ball, has spoke to. Jello has had the most difficult route, if there is a such thing, given the lifestyle that he's been a part of, social, economically. But as a basketball player, he has no choice but to work. And he's finally worked himself in a position that gives Charlotte at some point an offer they can't refuse. They can't withhold him forever, if you will. And he's showcasing his skill. And all you've given us is good tape on his family. So shout out to AB, the Hero, for that information. Shout out to LeVar for announcing what they are, because currently he said it would be difficult for the Lakers to play once his son left. And in the basketball sense, I would agree at this time, but that would be superficially, meaning that it's not necessarily true that Lonzo has made an impact well enough at some point on the Bulls at this time. You can include the Pelicans record, but he hasn't done something that would be so much replaceable from what Russell Westbrook is doing right now. And that's among so many other problems, but they're not playing well at this time is my point. The Bulls are, the Hornets are. Get back soon. LaMelo and Terry are in protocols, so get back. Continue to show LeVar right. The Bulls, as I've spoken before, have played well. Moving on, shout out to Hoop Intellect for this piece of the story. He just announced his first big board of the year. Go check him out. I will post his current standings video in my video below. But he lists 60 guys, and out of those 60 guys, in short, I feel like Jaden Ivey is the best. And if you watch him, he plays at Purdue. Purdue is currently the #1 overall college as of, I believe, 2 days ago. and Purdue has never been a number one team in the country. And that's partly because of Jaden Ivey and another player that shoots the ball very well. I don't know his name at this time, but they have that team playing fast. He's attacking the basket, but what has improved from what I've been told and what I've scouted is his shooting. Another player in that mix would be Jabari Smith, I believe his name is, out of Auburn. He's a player that is also of the same height and caliber. I think these guys are around 6'7", 6'8", wing guys, something that is a commodity, a much needed commodity at the next level, which stands out. But he has the Ja Morant bounce, if you will, where he plays in space as if he's always running with the basketball, but the ball is bouncing. And he's also elusive enough to get in tight spaces and finish around the rim at the collegiate level in ways that is sorely needed at the NBA level. So off of that alone, Jaden Ivey, in my opinion, is better than Jabari Smith out of Auburn because of his ability to be such an athlete while doing what Jabari is able to do as well. As a big shooter, he gives me Kerry Kittle vibes. I don't know if he can shoot the ball that well, but his ability to be fluid in the floor off the catch, and he's a little taller, I believe. I think Kerry Kittles was 6'7". I believe Jabari is 6'7", 6'8", if you will. I don't know if his clip is the same. I'm just talking about his body movement and fluidness if you were to understand the art form of basketball. Chet's in the mix for me in that top five, if you will. But I feel like there are a lot of deficiencies that go with his stature that you could bring him in day one as your number one overall pick, but you would have to wait some time unless you allow him to play in such space. We wouldn't know his position. It's not necessarily projected. He's playing a 5 for Gonzaga. A favorite of mine, Drew Time, I believe is his name. I like how he plays as well, but he wouldn't be in my top 5. He was somewhere later in the, I believe in the second round or the late second round, around that area. But just in short, Jaden Ivey, I would then say Jabari. I'm safe to say Chet at 3. See, I'm not high on Powell. Paolo, I believe is his name, out of Duke. He has a stature, he has a skill set, he had the ability to be effective at the collegiate level. I'm not saying he won't be at the next level, but I've seen guys at that level dominate and play that forward spot and be a physical stature and do it. I just don't know, like with Cade Cunningham this year, that you draft that guy to be your guy right away. He could possibly be that, but there are only it's only one Grant Hill, is my point. So transcendent forwards at that spot, I believe, have to start with athleticism. If you look at what Jordan did as a 2 guard, or LeBron, or let's leave it there, because those were number 1, number 3 overall picks, period. And that ability to go so high playing a position that many people can play, you have to do it in ways that people can't. And I think if you're drafting for change of your franchise in some way, shape, or form, I think Jaden Ivey is it. Jabari, see, this class is very, very fundamental. I think a lot of role players have come out of this class. But I think right now I'm safe with that. Powell can maybe go 4th just to be on the safe side. But I'm not sure who that 5th guy will be for me right now. It's still early. I'm not saying this is finite. This is definitely subject to change. But I wanted to drop those jewels on you. Purdue's the number 1 team in the country in college. You can see that. Look that up. It's easy. You don't have to watch college. Jaden Ivey, to me, is someone you should watch. And I'm saying that he is possibly the best player amateurly, whether it's or undergraduately or collegiately or sub NBA, if you will, than a lot of guys that I've seen. I don't know who my 5th would be, but I would start with those 4. Moving on, is it me or am I always talking about the Trailblazers in my video? And it's not because I want to. It's not because they're my favorite team, but this year particularly, it's a lot of things to talk about. In years past, we were able to be under the radar because of how we played and the lack their expectation for Portland to really do well nationally televised games or not really caring, We in a mix on Christmas if possible because of how well Dame is playing. But now where we are with this is we fired Terry Stotts last year. The GM blamed Terry Stotts for what was going on and continued on with his mindset of how the team should run. Well, in that way, he was accused of things, what they say, detrimental to the team. And at this time, we are relieved of his services. And throughout this time, right, we're making a conversation of two different types of fan bases that I always talk about. I would say, because we truced officially online, shout out to Blazers Uprise, shout out to the guys there. They let me have it. They spoke to how they felt about my position in regards to how I want Portland to be as aggressive as possible. I don't know if we go back to 2001 because upon my research, what we did was we had a lot of starters on that Rasheed Wallace Jailblazer team, and even our prospects were good enough to play significant minutes, and it really didn't work out like that. There was a lot of change in the rotation if you didn't play well, and a lot of guys had other interests as a result. Like I explained to a good friend of mine about Michael Beasley, sidebar, and he's in some reason compared to Paolo, if you will, out of Duke for some reason, but I just had to say that. We're in the news because of the lack thereof consistency with the momentum we had since 2011. Neil O'Shea has been accused of things that may take away from the focus of the team. And we haven't been playing well as late. We lost bad to San Antonio. And also, when Portland lose, expect that I have to do 250 push-ups. That's my own personal challenge amongst my basketball minds that I contact with, if you will. But we are in a position where this shouldn't happen in Portland right now because we understand that Dame is not saying he's going anywhere. He's spoken about staying in Portland. I ride with him on that. But, you tend to think at times, well, you wouldn't really be mad if he wanted to leave. It's a lot of flux going on. I'm not saying he's not accountable in that in one way or shape or form. But if you have the ability to consider it's like that back and forth, it's a very pivotal time for us in Portland. And I'm not sure who's the interim as we speak. And as a Blazers fan, I heard the name, but I can't regurgitate it, so I won't speak on it. But we have an interim GM, and we have some eyes on some guys that may compliment us. I heard Tayshaun Prince, but I was also told or read through my research prior to this that may not happen. But I like Tayshaun Prince with Chauncey Billups in there if possible. I'm not sure about Brent. Danny Ainge is on that list. I'm afraid of that personally. I get the connection to Oregon and things of that nature. I'm just afraid of that mentality being in Portland, but it is an aggressive one. They said a guy to New York and a guy to Chicago, and for me, possibly because they have a perspective on what a big market is. But I think based on what we just relinquished at Neil O'Shea, I believe we should take our time with that. So if you're asking me, Tayshaun Prince from Memphis, formerly of the Detroit Pistons, I think that should be something that we consider, if that makes sense. Moving forward, Golden State, Phoenix. That has been a series to watch if there ever was one in season. You can go back and check out the first game where Phoenix won. Phoenix sped up Golden State in a lot of ways, and it was surprising to see, but Steph was out of rhythm. I would say partly because of the speed, because in Game 2 on Friday, I did not see a lot of fast break points. I saw a lot of technical or pseudo secondary break scoring, but I believe Steph made it a point to show that no, it wasn't because of you. Although I believe the first game, Golden State at Phoenix, they showed you spots on the floor where you may want to put these guys and make it difficult for them. I will say that. If you are a gambling person, I'm not saying that you should do that. I would say do it in moderations, if you will. But if that is something you would wager upon, I believe this season series would be that. Chris Paul has played outstanding as usual. I believe in the first game, Devin Booker was hurt or he got hurt, so they're taking their time on that. It didn't stop anything. Larry Shaman stepped in, and he has proved to be the player that he was meant to be when he was drafted, if you will. I believe he was originally a Clipper, and they definitely didn't want him to go. But he's showing you why in Phoenix, and I believe that's a great system, and it balances out Mikal Bridges. And for the record, last episode I mispronounced a player's name. I kept saying Cam Thomas. It's Cameron Johnson out of the University of North Carolina, co-partner to Kobe White, and he has a famous clip, Kobe White, of him being very proud that Cam Johnson was drafted to the Phoenix Suns in the first round, and he has proved that he's a pseudo 3-4 where he plays up 4 with his physicality, and he's able to shoot the ball lights out. Combined with Larry Shaman, combined with Mikal Bridges, I believe Draymond and Jay Crowder has been a wonderful, if you are a fan of physicality, if you will, or good bump, as we say in my city, Washington, D.C., you would love that. Draymond Green has been shooting the ball very well, and I love his stroke is high, but he's already releasing the shot before he gets it off. He's just getting it to the height, if you will, and it looks beautiful. You know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. He doesn't have he has a unique set shot, but the way that he's releasing it is allowing him to feel more confident in taking threes later. He doesn't want to take a three to begin, but if it's in rhythm, he's going to take it. Not saying he won't, but that team, Golden State, is showing you exactly as I said previously when I spoke about the Clippers. I spoke about Phoenix being great teams. Utah's also in that mix for the record. They are a great team as well. But I'm telling you, Golden State has a championship understanding right now. And it bodes right. I've spoken to it. Also, I want to speak to in this particular point, rotations. I spoke about this in maybe the first episode, that rotations are important. And similar to what they do in European or Central American or South American football, African football, other places in the world where they play, as we say, soccer, they announce rotation. So, for example, the Nets have announced that Blake Griffin was removed from the rotation. That doesn't mean he won't play, but he's not going to be a significant part of how they win games. Not saying that he won't play, but they put LaMarcus Aldridge in the game and starts him now. LaMarcus had a tweet a few days before they announced this, not saying it's connected, but he saw what I am seeing now in his ability. He's a former trailblazer to what I spoke about previously with us having to figure it out. The playbook is still the playbook for us, and it's working out, but LaMarcus Aldridge then and now, for the truth, Blazers uprise, got to be said, unpopularly, LaMarcus Aldridge would be the ideal power forward, even though he scorned us, if you will. A guy like that, playing at that level, regardless of how many years he's had in the league, would be what Kevin Durant needs in the middle of the floor, instead of a guy that can pass and no longer be effective at the rim, if you will. He's a below the rim player with athleticism now, if you will. The rotations also are important because you know how the team is going to play. But you know that in that way, in the NBA, you really don't stop anybody. But in this case, I posted something on my Instagram at Jamaica Man, also at Jamaica Man on Twitter. UOPA, you know me, is the basketball handle. Eat, Sleep, Blitz is the football handle. And I just posted on my Instagram story a specific play where spacing was key on the strong side between LaMarcus and Kevin Durant. You know Kevin Durant is coming to the elbow where he is significantly 60% score, 70% on isolations. You take Blake Griffin out of that pick and roll, you put LaMarcus in, he's a rim runner in a sense of being able to finish because he's so tall and he knows how to use his height without being athletic, so to speak. But if he pops out to that short corner, you have a spacing where that big, that's backside, after that weak side guy that I talk about, weak side wing, he always is there just in case you need someone to get out. but you move him out specifically because Kevin Durant is coming to the free throw line to catch the ball. LaMarcus is diving to the rim, opposite of Kevin Durant, or going to the short corner, causing the guy that's in the pick and roll to help. Whoever's helping on Kevin Durant is most likely your best defender. You're sending him to the corner, and whoever's guarding LaMarcus Aldridge now has to guard because it's a technical switch with the interruption with someone standing in your way. That's a screen, that's a pick. That's the idea of getting more spacing. Well, that's what they just got with LaMarcus Aldridge. So if you're watching a game and you see like these guys move like two fingers twisting over each other across the free throw line, well, both these guys can score there. That makes them a threat. So they can stay there in a UCLA situation, meaning that you have two guys at each elbow of the free throw line, and you have two guys that are standing adjacent to them, but at the three-point line, if you will. It's a three-point elbow. It's like a little rectangle space that shows that it's not entirely curved at the three-point line. Maybe a lot, but if you go back and listen to it again, you understand what I'm saying. This was a good one. I think 7 is an important number for me, so I feel like I want you guys to really understand the story and have something to kind of like be entertained by. All that being said, I just mentioned the number 2 guy, Kevin Durant, in the MVP race. Shout out to Blake Griffin also being a professional, not taking it personally, and will be of use at some point, but they have to understand and shore up their rotations specifically to win, because it's 25% through the season. They got to make that push with the guys they have. James in gear, KD in gear, you get LaMarcus in gear. You support Nick Claxton's ability to support himself and get in gear. You have Patty Mills. You have to have your team ready to go. And Brooklyn's getting there. Golden State is definitely there. The Suns are going to beat you how they beat you. They're going to play any way they can. But as I said in week 6, I believe, that there's an extent to their dynamic ability, whereas Golden State has dynamic pieces all over the floor, 20-point scores all over the floor. They got a few 10-spot rebounders, a few quality guys that just trust the system and play well. And Juan, if you will, for example, or Kevon Looney, if you will use that as an example. Fun fact, they have another game on Christmas. You don't think the NBA knew that this was going to be something to watch if it worked out? And it has. So if you are, as I said before, in moderation, a gambling person, that may be a game you want to look into. And I took a step back from fantasy basketball. I also not really into the whole gambling thing, if you will, when it comes to that. But I just feel like it could possibly go either way. And this has been a playoff series played in season, if you ask me. Phoenix has no time to play around. They got 18 of the first 25 games. Longest win streak, I believe, is tied Chris Paul's longest win streak individually. And the Clippers are winning as well. They just beat the Lakers in LA yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And everyone's where they can be. Where they need to be was last week. Where they can be is this week, because teams know that it's not winning time, but you don't want to go into the All-Star break with a slide. So you're in the beginning strides of the season, I would say. Just double checking. I think I got everything. We're going to leave it at 25 minutes. Thank you all. Check out Thoughts by Ty, Eat, Sleep, Blitz on Spotify, on Twitter, if you will. Thoughts by Ty on Instagram. Ism Sports on Anchor, if you will. Thoughts by Ty on Anchor. This has been a 7th episode of Quick Break. And I didn't even announce it at the beginning. I do apologize. It will be in the title. But I wanted to just cover those things because that's where we are right now. In short, the Ball brothers are doing what they do. The draft players are emerging. The Blazers are in flux. I feel like Dame is staying. The Phoenix Golden State series is a series to behold great basketball and emphasizes the new NBA. The Golden State Warriors, I might add, completely blew the doors off of Phoenix, if you will. But Phoenix was hooping the whole time, so it wasn't like they were slouching. It was just that they couldn't get the shots they wanted. In the dynamic ability, Golden State was able to take some things away with misses, if you will. But the way that Golden State makes at the rim, it's a few Handle Life situations. Shout out to Handle Life. Famous Lowe's did his thing this week as well. Just pointing out specific spots. Devin in the lab as well. They show you in their own ways that this game was something to behold. Also, Utah, Boston was tough too. Go check that out. Spider should be in that MVP conversation to an extent, I would say. But you got to respect where they are. And as always, it's in you, not on you. Continue to move forward. Stay focused, you all. And I'll be back in a week. Peace, love, and